to come past the shop. Some of that traffic is assumed will stop and shop. Okay? So you look for a certain amount of traffic to stop. Each of the Class B stores that we talked with had a minimum requirement of 20,000 cars. Okay? When we took a look at all the information that we could find available about Indian Head, what we found out is that that average will range between 13 to 15,000 cars. Okay? So we're a few cars short in terms of simply going in and putting this out there and asking a grocery tenant to come. But don't fret. The reason I'm here is because we have come up with something. Okay? We are here before you, and again, hopefully this is not going to be the last time I'm here before you. As we go through these steps, there are two things that we will be looking for the town of Indian Head to do. Okay? Do this not for us, but for yourself. First, as I go through this, your comments are welcome. Okay? Tell us what you see and what you vision for this particular site in Indian Head. And my goal would be to design it. We have, unless I don't know if I jumped the gun saying certain things, but we have engaged a developer who is willing to come down and support this. Okay? I shared that report with the developer. The good news, he's still coming because he had the same understanding of reading that report that I did. There's some issues here, but that report very specifically outlines what some of the issues were. And so he's in the process now of determining how to solve some of those issues, okay, from his perspective. So when we get to the point where we are asking for financing, there are a number of components that the banks are looking for. It goes a little bit above and beyond how much money is being outlaid and what's the return on investment. If it were simple as that, well, let me rephrase that. The reality of financing is it is as simple as that. If the amount of money that is being spent to develop this project can justify itself under the terms that the financial institution set, that gives a return on that investment within the time frame that they're asking for, this happens, and this becomes a done deal. Okay? It is as simple as that. It doesn't matter how many zeros there are behind the comma. That's what they're looking for. I'm going to give out this amount of money. I want to, can you put on the table a plan that gets my money back within a certain period of time? If we do that, this plan is a done deal. It is as simple as that. And so the goal here is to get to that point. And in doing that, we've got to dot some I's and cross some T's. One of the I's that we need to dot has to do with you. First thing the bank is going to ask us, and the first thing the grocer asked us when we talked about coming down to Indian Head was, do you have the support of the community? If we come down here, will you support what we're going to bring into the area? Now, since we don't necessarily, or we haven't, let's say, pre-selected a grocer to come down here, one of the reasons we want to continue to be in front of you is to ask you, what type of business will you support? We don't want to bring something down or invite someone to come down here and you all, the community, does not support it. So the way we approach design is to fully engage the people who we are doing this for. And that is, to be perfectly honest, the community of Indian Head. So I won't do this here, but hopefully, again, get another opportunity to come before you, especially when we get to the point where we are really seriously trying to court people to come down. We have a full understanding as to what type of businesses to go after because we've had a conversation with you guys to tell us that if you bring this type of business, we will support it. One of the things that they did tell us, in terms of, in addition to the traffic volume and the residential density, they did tell us that the best way to get us to come down would be for you to do a design build or build to suit. And so, at the very least, what's going to happen is that area that you see there shaded in the yellowish color, the goldish color, under number 1, we're going to tear that down. Okay, so we're going to tear that down, and whenever a grocer comes, we're going to build that back for them to suit their particular requirements. Okay? Oops. Sorry. That's my wife. I didn't go. You're all about witness. I'm worried. Okay, let's hope she doesn't call back. Okay, so that's all it means. I gotta hurry up. So one of the things that we are proposing in order to attract that grocer is that this area right here, we're willing to demolish that and build that back however you dictate to us. Area number 2, this is what I call the boutique area. That is, I don't know what was there before. Anybody knows what was in there? Pardon?
Office space with the contractor.
Office space with contractor. Okay, that would work here too. I'm calling that a boutique space for all intents and purposes. It's a little bit deep to be kind of your traditional strip mall type of store. It could be a department store. It does have that kind of size to it. It could be office space. It could be, and that's, for all intents and purposes, the reason why we're talking to you right now. You tell us what would work there. You tell us if this is a retail establishment, what you would support. But there's a lot of flexibility in that second section. There's about 25,000 square feet of space there. Area number 3. Area number 3 is a little more akin to the proportions of your typical retail space. And then the 4 that came up basically says we're going to resurface and restrike the parking area. Okay? That is a shot of a shopping center that is similar that we did in, I want to say, Falls Church, Virginia. Has very, very similar characteristics. That particular space on the corner there is now occupied by a grocery store called, starts with a C, okay. Once again, you already had curb cuts off of not only Strauss Avenue, but off of Indian Highway, so we don't have to worry about that. Now, this would be our approximation of what the floor plan would look like. To the left, to the right, I'm sorry, is where the we would attempt to put the grocery store. That middle section there could be divided into several different segments, or it could be rented out as one bay. And then the sections on the left would lend themselves more to kind of the typical strip strip stores. Once again, we would ask the community's indulgence that as we go out and attempt to market and lease this, indicate to us what types of shops you would support. And we would do we would make it our effort, or part of our effort, to try to attract those types of stores. Okay, the second part of this is the daycare center. Currently, there's approximately 1,300 square feet. We would add an addition onto that. That addition, at least in what we have assumed here is 2,500 square foot addition. Where you see the number 3 at the top, that area, it's a grass area that is between the car wash, that's a car wash, right? Next to it, car wash, and that law office, that grass area actually is a part of this property. We put a playground for the daycare center. Number 4 is, once again, restriping, preparing and restriping the parking lot to address the parking needs of the daycare center. And that is what, at least as a schematic, what we envision, or how we envision a final floor plan for the daycare center. Phase 3. Phase 3 would deal with the warehouse. And again, that warehouse warehouse building is not physically attached to the shopping center. So that we had in talking with New Life, they wanted the opportunity to improve and expand their sanctuary, their meeting place. The goal here is that this building is going to be just as much community oriented within its function as it is a place of worship. The good news is that there is already a curb cut off of Strauss Avenue that would allow independent access into that facility. Number 1, that is that little house. And I heard, well, no, I didn't hear, I read that the police substation had moved up to Bryan's Road. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And I thought I understood, I don't necessarily want to say as to why that was, but there was an issue with trying to get space? Yes? No?
The space that they were occupying was
Okay.
downtown.
Okay. So the only reason I mention that is that we had talked about in this little house, talked about a number of things that, how we could take advantage of that particular structure on the property. And one of the things that was discussed would be to have that return as the police substation. If that were something that we can sit down and figure out a way to make that work for them. Okay? So the pastors were open to even that as an idea for this property. One of the ideas. Number 2 would be the renovation of the warehouse. Number 3, area 3, is talking about that wooded area there. And in that wooded area, we discussed plans of turning that into a little park. It is an area of a significant size to be undisturbed. I didn't take an opportunity to walk through it, so I hope there's no physical reason why. But one of the plans that we had talked about would be to turn that into a place for outdoor recreation. It's big enough to house certainly a playground for children. It's big enough to hold a basketball court. It's big enough to hold, in addition to the basketball court, a tennis court. Okay? So in talking with the pastors, they are willing to commit funds to the project to turn that area into some type of outdoor recreation area available to the community. On the inside, one of the things they want to do is to improve their sanctuary in meeting space. And again, in our discussions up to this point, as you'll see from, as we took a look at developing that a little further, this is not only something that they have opened up to be available to just their church services, but also as a meeting space for the community. Here is our idea based on the conversation that we had with the pastors about how this would look. What you see beyond the thick double line to the right would be responding to the renovation of and reestablishment of the church sanctuary and some of the functions around the church sanctuary. And then on the left, they asked me, would a full court basketball court, indoor court fit inside there? Well, there's the answer right there, yes. But that space is a space that they would program as a recreational space that has the flexibility to do a lot of things, but most importantly, be open to the community. So that's a community recreation space that they have asked me to take a look at to see if within the space of that warehouse building, could that happen? So in talking with and dealing with Pastor Dennis and Stacey Houston to this point, the majority of what we've talked about and the conclusions that you see here are based primarily on a response to the community. How can we best serve the community? I don't think that is necessarily an unusual thing, consider that they are pastors, and generally that is a principal part of their mission, to set up programs and to do certain things and to perform in response to the community. Yeah, there's a second floor to this that I didn't show. So with that, questions?
Yes, I have a few questions for you.
Go right ahead.
First of all, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Price,
Yes.
and Pastor Dennis and Pastor Houston. This is a great concept. I'm excited. These are some things that we need in the community. We're preparing a citizen survey, so I think that would be a good point to kind of inject some of your
Excellent point.
requests for comment on the types of things that they would support. I think that would be great. How far have you gotten with Eli, the Eli company? Have you gotten far, or this is beyond a notional concept? You've had some discussion?
Yes.
Yes, and I'll be calling him tonight.
All right, all right. I'm glad to hear that you consider raising one of those buildings, because I didn't think you would be able to repair it, but that's good that you would build a suit for the potential grocery store, and I'm glad you're having conversations, because we do need a grocery store down. But as a whole, it's a great concept. I'm excited to see progress going forward, so thank you for your presentation.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
And thank you again. I mean, this is an excellent presentation you guys have put so far. I didn't realize that you guys just did. And one of my concerns would be that, as you know, town is a very small entity with just 1.1 square miles as a town of Indian Head. And one of the problems I'm trying to compare between what Washington, D.C. and this. One of the curses of Washington, D.C. being the capital itself is because there are too many not-for-profits and too many federal government buildings that does not produce the revenue for the city of Washington, D.C. And that particular branch crop that you just showed is a big source of, potentially a big source of what we are hoping from the town is going to be a big source of tax revenue for us also. But when the not-for-profit entities like yours come in, then it is basically next to nothing that the town gets in terms of at least the potential future revenue. And that is a big concern for me personally, but I think the town also needs to go, because once the not-for-profit entity, religious entities takes over, because that downstream revenue in perpetuity is lost to the town. And so that would be my biggest concern. But outside of that, the plan is excellent. I think what you guys have come up with, things like that. And I cannot possibly imagine any other city on the planet outside of the Vatican City where it is more religious, and we have so many churches within 1.1 square miles. You know? So seriously, so that's what I'm saying. But we do have need for other needs in the town, like basketball court concept is awesome. The grocery store, if you can pull it off, even based on the ULI studies, it is hard to pull it off with the foot traffic and things like that. It is difficult. But I do have those serious concerns in terms of tax revenues down the road for the city. Thank you.
Okay, well, may I answer that question? Pastor Stacy?
Sure.
No, well, you can answer, or you want me to answer?
You go ahead and answer, I might have a comment.
The thing is, I'm not looking for answers that can be put on your thought.
No,
your
that's
wrong. No,
I don't need a right away answer because sometimes it might be a wrong answer. We just want you to think through it. We just want you to have the right conversation.
All right,
Yes,
well,
sir.
here's where we are now, because I'm not gonna speak beyond where we are now. You heard me mention earlier that we showed this proposal and all the documentation to a developer. That developer is now in the process of looking for the money to complete this. And in doing that, there are several different pots where this money would come from. But to answer your question, and this is how this ties in, the answer to your question, it ties into the reference to the developer. The developers are also not interested in owning a nonprofit. Right? It's not going to produce the return that they need in order to invest the money. And so what New Life Christian Center has done, they've started a CDC. They've actually started two CDCs, one for-profit, one nonprofit. And so what's going to happen with the development of this is that you saw me show the three phases. Okay? Third phase is the only phase that, for all intents and purposes, will have more exclusive ownership by the church. Now, whether or not we can do that on the same lot through apportioning the lot through zoning to draw a clear demarcation between who owns what and who is responsible for what, even if that's not necessary, the participation of the developer is going to require that demarcation. We generally call those condo docs. And those condo docs will make a definite statement towards who owns what, who's responsible for what taxes are paid where. So the goal was not to capture that entire lot in this entire development and bring it in as a nonprofit. The portions that we talked about for the retail and the daycare are for-profit entities. That's the way we're currently approaching this.
Thank you.
And we need a grocery store. So just so that you all know, we are already down here. So if you all don't know, it's the old Bank of America. That's New Life Christian Ministries. And we watch people go across to Dollar General.
Yeah.
So, and I think you did the research and said that this is considered a food desert.
Yes, it
So
is.
we want to supply real food for people. So I think that would be a benefit. And then, you said fresh vegetables, fresh something. All right, so that's what we want to do. So we do have some ideas, but I like your idea because we wanted to do that and we were going to generate. Can I talk?
Go right
I don't know. Okay, all right, so I just want to make sure. We wanted to do the survey and we were going to have a boost on the Facebook. So we do have some questions that we could,
Okay.
answer.
Great.
And that would help.
Okay.
You know, you didn't say pastor, y'all know you say that pastors don't know how to give back the mic, but I'll be happy to take yours.
I'm not gonna sit here and wait for it.
So anyway, we would like to give you just a few questions that we had, if we could add to that.
I think that's
Is that
a
all
great
right?
idea.
So that we can see, so we did have some other ideas, and we really want to be a benefit to Indian Head. And one of the things that we're already doing in our ministry so far has been free. It won't continuously be free, but we offer Taekwondo. So we want to extend that to the young people for a minimum price.
Awesome.
So we want to do that. So we do really want to be a benefit and not just come in and get. We want to see change. We want to see, we know that there's addictions here, and we want to be a help. We really want to be an asset. So we're not just here for quote-unquote religious purposes. We are here for change. And so I believe that we'll be able to help. And we really do want the community to be behind us, all right? Is that all right?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have a few questions or concerns. In one part of your presentation, you said it was zone AC. It's actually zone GC, general commercial. So you will need to get a mixed-use designation from the town. Is there any other things you'll need from the town? I mean, the grocery store, we don't need a survey to know that we need a grocery store. I mean, everybody wants a grocery store, that's guaranteed, so.
Well,
What else will you need besides changing the designation, the zoning designation from general commercial to town center mixed use?
well, doing this meeting here, you recall me earlier saying that putting a project together like this is a process. And the thing that I have talked to the pastors about, to their congregation and those who have come to some of the meetings that we have, that there are two principal characteristics that are needed in a project like this. The first one is patience. The second one is perseverance. There are a lot of, I had a conversation with our developer right before I came to come here, and he was telling me about all of the things that he had investigated to this point in terms of getting some financing into here. The one thing that is apparent about this area, and one of the hurdles we're going to have to overcome, is that doing this project, this particular project, is going to take a public-private partnership. So on the private side, once again, with the banks that we've talked with, it's pretty much the dollars and cents. Do the numbers add up? Demonstrate to us that the numbers add up, and this is a no-brainer. But in addition to just the money, they look for a number of things to happen on the human side. That first and most important thing is, does the community support? That's one of the reasons why we're here this evening. Well, they're going to ask us, does the community support what you're doing? So we'd like the ability to check that box. We got a letter from the mayor saying that the town of Indian Head supports. So that's the next step up. We can check that off. Then it's a function.
That was a personal support matter.
That was okay. Well, I'll take it. So I guess to answer the question that's put before me, a corporate understanding of that support. Doesn't have to be a commitment. A commitment will be nice, but generally this process works in progression. The first step that we attempt to attain, the first step that we attain is interest. Okay, so we're piquing everybody's interest. Now, we're trying to gauge who has an interest in what
You
we're
had to say grocery store.
And then the second and final step that is commitment. Okay, so at this particular point in time, we haven't really given you anything to necessarily commit, well, except for the grocery store, to commit to right now. So what we're looking for is interest. To know that as we proceed forward from the point that we are right now, that the town has an interest in us pursuing this to its final end, okay, or its eventual end. The second thing, the next step, we take that interest that the community has expressed, the interest that the township has expressed, we take that then to Charles County, and we pique the interest of Charles County to get them interested in the project. The significance of Charles County is that that's really the first time we're going to run into regulatory
I have to stop you there. Charles County is not involved in this project. You're within the town of Indian Head, so.
Ah,
Town of Indian Head.
okay. Well,
That was another thing on
Then we
here.
skip.
You had said county before, everything needs to be submitted to the town.
Ah, okay, good. I got that. And then you got you guys right here. I piqued your interest. All right. Well, then the next step is the state of Maryland. And the whole reason of kind of going through this progression is that there's going to be something that's asked at every stage in order to get it done. In sitting down and talking with the financial institutions that we've discussed this project with, these are some of the things that they're asking us to make sure that we have identified when we put in that application for financing back to them. The final thing, the final level of that in terms of pursuing some of the, at least on the public side, some of the public financing is, my developer said that he has made contact with federal government, most importantly HUD and their enterprise.
Talking about enterprise zone?
Not necessarily enterprise. What, is this an enterprise zone?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Well, no, it wasn't that.
I mean, so at a subsequent meeting, we can get into the details. We don't mean to put you on the spot with a certain level of detail, but I think it's a great concept going forward. I didn't want to belabor the point. I think it's great. We have some concerns that have been presented, and then at a follow-on meeting, maybe we can talk about in greater detail, give you some time to prepare, because I know we're kind of throwing things at you.
Okay. Well, I just want to give you the understanding that even in the terms of financing at this particular stage, we've got some things going. Our developer would not have committed, and he or she is already committed. He's already hired a firm to do all the paperwork for all the monies he's going to be trying to seek to get the project going. So we do have our developer committed to moving this project forward.
Okay. So is that commitment in writing? You have it in writing?
It's in writing. They haven't signed it yet.
Okay. All right. Okay.
That's what we did.
So, okay.
They're gonna work out details, but yeah. That it?
Okay, sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I gave you the opportunity. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
All right, Jeff?
For the month of February, 33 fire responses, 15 were within the town limits, which to the storm that we had come through, that was the majority of those. I just want to, real quick on that note, I got a lot of phone calls, a lot of things about trees down and issues. Okay, I want to make something very clear to the folks, to you folks and anybody that's watching or here tonight. If there's immediate danger to life or to your structure, someone trapped inside a car, house, something like that, we will do everything that we can to get that person out of there. If it's a tree in the front yard, if it's a tree on a vehicle that is unoccupied, we're going to push you towards the back of the list. And due to legal issues, we're really not allowed to remove the tree from your car or your house in fear of someone coming back and saying, hey, you caused more damage than the tree did itself.
It goes for the town as well.
Okay. Well, we had a situation, I wanted to get that out to everybody so everybody understands. If you do have trees down, please, the 911 system is going to be overloaded. If we got a situation here, you can only imagine what's going on in the rest of the county. Feel free to contact the firehouse, because in a situation like that, we've got people there that can take phone calls. We will get there eventually, we'll survey what's going on, and we will assist you the best that we can. 18 mutual aid calls that month in February to other areas in Charles County and surrounding counties. EMS tracked 23 emergency medical responses, and we had an awful month with training. We only had 100 hours last month, so down a little bit, but that's okay. Believe me, we're well trained and ready to do what we have to do. For the month of March, we had a total of, I gotta put my glasses on, I apologize, 23 fire responses, 11 first due, 12 again to other areas in the county. 2 of the first due calls, again, while I'm here, were burning within the town. If everybody's not aware, there is a no burn ban in the town, which means you cannot burn anything. Okay, the town has a recycling for yard waste, and they have trash service, and they have recycling. So the need to burn, I don't see why anyone would have a need to burn. Just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. 29 emergency medical calls, and 125 hours of training. While I'm here real quick, Mayor, I want to talk about, this is spring cleaning time. I've noticed a lot of the residents